Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Sub-Forum of Media Exchanges on International Poverty Reduction. This Sub-Forum is, of course, organized by China Media Group, and my name is Zhiqin. I'm host of the opinion show called The Point with Zhiqin. It's my great honor to be able to host this Sub-Forum and meet all our distinguished guests online and, of course, on site. As I said, we have many distinguished guests joining us online. They include former government leaders, heads of media outlets from around the world, and as well as renowned scholars online. We also have two gentlemen sitting on site. I'm very pleased to have them with us here. They are Wang from the Global Times and Zhiqin, former chief representative of the Swiss Zürcher Kantonalbank Beijing office. So the warmest welcome to all of you. Now, this sub-forum is dedicated to discussing the most urgent issue of today's world, I believe. And of course, a lot of people share that understanding, which is to reduce global extreme poverty. And in particular, we're focusing on how the media can play an ever more important part in offering constructive coverage of this process. What can be shared and what still needs to be done? With all of that cleared, let's move on and let's welcome our first speaker in today's forum, Yves Leterme, former Prime Minister of Belgium. Of course, he doesn't need much introduction. A former Belgian politician, a weathered politician, and also leader of the Christian Democratic and Flemish Party. He has had rich experience in politics, economics, and international affairs. So we're very much looking forward to hearing your remarks, Mr. Leterme. The floor is yours, please.
As you mentioned, I've been at the helm of Belgium. Just to remind people, Belgium is a rather small country, certainly compared to China, with quite a high level of economic development, strong social security scheme, but still poverty is on the rise, and we have growing inequalities, and also our policies are challenged by the setback due to the pandemic and by, more fundamentally, let's say, a wider spread of extreme poverty, including, for instance, homelessness, and homelessness including for women and children. Number one, I think media has a clear responsibility and possibility to, number one, keep poverty reduction as a central goal for policy making at all levels. Media plays an still increasing role in terms of agenda setting. Of course, now also the decentralized media, but that's key. So that's a power you have, that's a power media has, and it should not be underestimated. Certainly in open countries, in open nations, the agenda setting for policymakers and decision makers is kind of fueled by media attention. And so I think that media has a potential there, but also responsibility, I think, to, in a good way, keep poverty reduction on top of the policy agenda as a task for politics, putting pressure on policymakers to have this on board in their action and decision making. Number two, of course, media should give a stronger voice to the court, to the people concerned, to include them in decision making, to have good quality decision making is needed to include the people concerned. Third task, possibility and responsibility, I think, is that via a good approach and via playing a good role, for instance, by including the poor people in their reporting, but also giving them a voice, media can strengthen the ownership of policies of poverty reduction, which is, of course, an issue of fairness, fundamental human dignity, but which will also allow to improve the quality of policy making and decision making, because then the effectiveness and efficiency will be raised by having these policies really customized to the real needs that have been voiced by the poor. Number four, I think that media can offer a platform for exchange of best practices, motivating people to bring their best successes on platforms and to learn from each other what works best in terms of the tools to combat poverty. Last but not least, you mentioned it yourself, I think the role of media media is also indeed to shed a light on successes, but also to approach in a critical, constructive, critical way failures. I think the distanceless and timeless characteristic of media production and consumption also brings a lot of potential under the condition that these potential opportunities are really seized. And I think that there, indeed, media companies, when it comes, for instance, to poverty reduction, should, what I mentioned in the first part, really play their role as being also a platform of bringing that kind of facts and insights in the way policy making, but also the daily reality of the daily lives of people, how poverty is present. So I close here, wishing the participants a very fruitful day, a very fruitful exchange of views, and I thank you, of course, for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Leterme, for these very concise but very structured intervention. I think several of the extremely important points were already touched upon, and exactly these are the things that we have been trying to do, including hosting such a sub-forum to share and to talk about the role that the media can play. And China is also experimenting very actively in terms of using ITC to help alleviate extreme poverty. So many thanks to Mr. Leterme for opening the forum with such insightful remarks. And let me move on without much ado to our next speaker, distinguished former president of Bulgaria, Mr. Rosen Plevneliev. If I pronounce your name correctly, I understand you were president from January 2012 to January 2017. You visited China, and during your visit to China, you spoke very highly of China's policy of win-win cooperation of the Belt and Road Initiative and its potential benefits to cultural exchanges between people. So, Mr. Plevneliev, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Well, friends, I'm very happy to talk to you. Very happy to be with you in this very important conference. I'm very proud to talk not just on behalf of all Bulgarians, the country of Bulgaria, but also to talk to you on behalf of all the countries in Southeast Europe, to tell you how proud we are that we participate on the 17th Plevneliev initiative, that we participate on the Belt and Road initiative. And of course, I was very proud to put my signature on the SDGs 2030 to negotiate and to get a global consensus. And what else makes more sense for the world, for every human being on the planet, but fighting poverty and having the right of being well educated and have a decent life. I was very proud also to put my signature on the Paris Climate Accord. And I thank you, China, for leading, for keeping the global consensus and helping everybody on the planet having a dream and a hope and sharing the Chinese dream for a win-win cooperation, for a cleaner and for a nicer planet. So I put my signature, but also I worked hard. And I visited China several times. I am a friend, I am one of you, and I know how important it is to deliver results on those important global priorities. It is only that the countries together can fight poverty. It is only that the countries together can make peace and make, let's say, a rules-based global trade in order to make sure that we give a hope and we give a horizon to ordinary people wherever they are in the world. We are going back to our priorities. We are learning from China. Today we're so proud to see that the number of poor people in China is less than the number of poor people in the United States, for example. And I'm not saying that, it's what the World Bank is saying as a fact. And because of that, you guys have a mission and a goal, and you need to continue sharing your mission with all of the others in the world as we believe in a cleaner and a fair planet. That is why, as a president of Bulgaria, as someone who represents the co-region of Southeast Europe, I can give you so many examples of good cooperation with China and all the countries in Southeast Europe, but the most important thing is we have good results, and we continue because we do want to give a hope to people, and we want to thank China for what you do for fighting poverty, modernizing the planet, and bringing rules and institutions. What needs to be done is very simple: rules and institutions. The United Nations to be done stronger, the United Organizations all over the world, from UNESCO to cultural organizations, to be done stronger, media organizations to get stronger. Only together we will create this planet we are very much hoping and working for. Thank you once again. I wish success to your forum, and you have a mission, and that mission is just starting. And the mission is hope and fair life for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, for all of the positive energy and the hope that you are attaching to our discussion today. Indeed, whatever the obstacles, I think positive energy and hope is the only key, right, that will help us go through this very difficult time. So thank you very much, Mr. President. Thank you for your patience and for your...
Making sense of the overwhelming wave of information means cutting through the noise to shine a light on the heart of the story and making room for new perspectives. True understanding means the ability to see events from more than one side. I'm Liu Xin, and this is The Point.
From theory to practice, from service personnel to tech support, the town of Longju in southwest China's Chongqing municipality has developed an array of anti-poverty industries with the help of science and technology.
Technical service personnel have offered their sci-tech expertise to our villagers, which has helped with their poultry farming industry, putting minds at rest.
Like those in Longju, experts from across China are helping with technology-driven poverty reduction programs. But how have these individuals become a key in the anti-poverty battle?
Since the 18th CPC National Congress in 2012, there have been 289,800 rural technical service personnel working at the forefront of the battle against poverty, providing technical and entrepreneurship services for nearly 100,000 villages on the poverty list nationwide.
Besides these experts, science-tech projects delivering tangible benefits have also been developed to help alleviate poverty.
We have launched over 250 projects with the support of the National Key R&D Program, investing a total of 219 million yuan and attracting an extra 845 million yuan from other sources. Nearly 200 new crop varieties have been bred and over 100 key industrial technologies developed, giving a strong boost to industrial development in paired-up counties.
Amid the COVID-19 pandemic, Time magazine has named 2020 the worst year ever. But experts believe China's achievements in poverty reduction are a glimmer of hope in this troubling year.
We have Mr. Robert Lawrence Kuhn, who is chairman of the Kuhn Foundation and China Reform Friendship Medalist recipient. Let's listen to his message.
I'm Robert Lawrence Kuhn. For more than 30 years, I have been telling China's story to the world. And while China has many achievements, none is as powerful as China's eradication of all extreme poverty. I congratulate the organizers of this conference for their vision and insight, the CPC Publicity Department, China Media Group, CCTV, and CGTN, at this critical juncture at the advent of the Xiaokang Shehui, the moderately prosperous society. For the past 6 years, Adam Zhu, my long-term partner, and I have had the privilege of working with CCTV and CGTN on our weekly show, Closer to China. And each year we have produced several episodes on poverty alleviation following this epic and historic story. As much as I have traveled across China, visiting over 100 cities, I did not appreciate all that is required for poverty alleviation until I visited poor regions. I spoke with poor villagers, those who had come out of poverty through micro-businesses, those who had relocated to urban areas, and those who, ill or infirm, needed social support. Going beyond the great good of poverty alleviation itself, understanding how the leadership of the Communist Party of China, the CPC, enables the poverty alleviation campaign to fulfill its mission gives insight into the CPC's governance structure and its organizational capabilities. This is especially important at this time of heightened awareness of China's increasing role in global affairs and the increasing sensitivities to it. In July 2019, PBS SoCal, the flagship public television station in Southern California, premiered Voices from the Front Line, China's War on Poverty, produced with CGTN, the first in-depth documentary about China's poverty alleviation campaign to be broadcast abroad. Our international film crew had unprecedented access to travel across China. I met poor villages, local officials, special monitors, those being lifted out of poverty, those assigned to do the lifting, and those recruited to do the checking. For example, the last step in deciding who is poor and who is not, and who can be said to have been lifted out of poverty, it is what is called the democratic appraisal meeting. It is where the villagers themselves get a chance to vote. While officials may not be told the whole truth, the villagers know each other's real situations. Although poverty is being fought the world over, there is nothing anywhere like China's relocation of whole villages on a massive national scale, moving people from remote rural areas to cities, providing homes and jobs, giving them a chance at a better life. I traveled to Guizhou Province, Huishui County, where the relocation of whole villages was underway. I learned that housing is free for villagers who relocate. A family of 4 receives up to 80 square meters of living space, 20 per person. The government also covers all basic amenities, including sofas, beds, kitchenware, and TVs. But in such a massive country, with such flows of funds and with officials' careers on the line, there is risk of abuse and manipulation. One aspect of poverty alleviation that impressed me most was the system to mitigate fraud called third-party evaluation. Our documentary focused on a team of professors and students from Southwest University in the Chongqing municipality. Trained by the central government, they traveled 300 kilometers deep into rural Sichuan province, where they would not likely know any of the officials whom they would be evaluating and thus not be swayed by personal relationships. To ensure that the local officials do not prepare for inspection visits, the evaluation team decides where they will go only at the last minute, often the same morning of the inspection. The director of our film, Peter Getzels, took a cinematic approach to the documentary, using a verite or observational style and editing in a way that shows more than tells. Stories unfold naturally, poor people speak candidly, making visceral impact and enabling viewers to experience the poverty alleviation process for themselves. And for those foreigners who marvel at how China contained the novel coronavirus, COVID-19, I point out that while all political systems have trade-offs, the common root of China winning the war to contain the contagious coronavirus and China winning the war to eradicate extreme poverty is the CPC's leadership and organizational capacity. When future historians write the chronicles of our times, China's targeted poverty alleviation may well be a featured story.
Many thanks to that very interesting story brought to us by Dr. Kuhn. I think history will judge that it is never too much to emphasize the importance of the poverty alleviation work. Let me turn to my guests here on site. Mr. Liu, some concluding remarks before we go, and Wang later. Please, okay. Mr. Liu.
I'm very happy to join this meeting, and I hope the whole world, whole community can join together, make joint efforts to go further for poverty reduction. And we will talk our good result by 2030 agenda. So we hope everybody is well, and you will come back to China sooner or later after pandemic is over. Thank you all.
Thank you for that kind message. Mr. Wang.
Well, thank you very much. This has been a very wonderful experience for me because poverty reduction has a very special meaning to me because if you allow me, I just want to take a few minutes to elaborate on that because I was born in a very, very remote area of China, Yi Autonomous Prefecture in Sichuan Province, and it is one of the last prefectures that was still under poverty line until this November. So when I was born, my village has no electricity, no road, only a dirt road. And then later, they first started to build a road there, and then a few years later, we have electricity, and then a few years later, we have a highway. And the highway brought with a lot of jobs because there's a service center. And then the highway brought a lot of businesses also. So that is how I see how China did in terms of poverty reduction. It is an investment. It is a long-term investment with no short-term return. But it is an investment not only to lift the people out of poverty, out of human rights, or out of respect for human lives. It is also an economic investment because now with China increasingly turning into the internal circulation under the highly advertised dual circulation, urbanization and this population is a big potential for China's consumption market. So I want to point out that this is an investment, and now, as I travel around the world, it's the same thing is happening also in Pakistan. Under the Belt and Road Initiative, there are a lot of investments in infrastructure going on there that has brought a lot of opportunities there in the Maldives. Mm-hmm. So I think this is going on, but also, unfortunately, I see a lot of hurdles, a lot of, as I alluded to earlier, a lot of negativity about these corporations that it really concerns me. That because these types of news stories, as we all know, we're in the media profession, that it has impact on corporation. It has impact on concrete actions. So I really worry. And today, sitting here, I am really relieved to hear that a lot of us are from all over the country, judging by all the last names. We're a very diverse group of colleagues, and I really hope that we can carry on these discussions and then just really do our jobs in telling the true side of the story, that not everything China touch is negative. It's about poverty reduction. I mean, this is the basic, as one of our guests said, the most basic human rights. So I hope we can build on this momentum and do more concrete actions, and I look forward to have a lot more interactions with my colleagues from around the world. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Wang. So you're a walking example, right, of China's decades-long investment into its people, and we are clearly seeing the benefit of those efforts, and we hope that the similar efforts would be undertaken by governments all over the world, and ordinary people will benefit from these efforts. Eventually, it's about them. It's about the grassroots people who don't have the voice. I really would like to express heartfelt appreciation to all our panelists. All the very best. The best season's greeting. Good prospect in your work next year, and I do hope to be able to see you on a person-to-person basis sometime soon in the future. Yeah, I see our Mongolian friend waving goodbye. Thank you so much, and have a good day wherever you are.